Hi, lovely booktubers. I'm Debs. Welcome back to my channel, Raina Read Stuff. Once again, I'm in the book shack. It's quite chilly. This isn't a dressing gown, it's just a big fluffy jacket. Um, I am here on a Sunday to do my weekly Sunday wrap up on the right day instead of it being late. I'm impressed. It's the end of October. There's 2 days left. I think all the wonderful reading events that I've taken part in October are probably going to stop now. I'm probably going to start on the November stuff tomorrow, which I know is cheating, but I've got a lot to do. Anyway, this week's books have covered all of the reading events. So we will start with, let's start with Victober. I have absolutely loved Victober. I have read authors that I haven't read before. I have reread authors that I didn't like and now have decided that I do like. The big book for Victober, the read along, was The Way We Live Now, Anthony Trollope. And although it's enormous, it was fabulous. I really enjoyed it. In fact, I enjoyed it to the extent that I have ordered 4 more Anthony Trollope books, or rather, over the last course of the last 4 weeks, I have bought 4 more Anthony Trollope books. Um, Quite a cast of characters in here. One of the things I really like about Victorian authors is the ridiculous names they give their characters. Um, And this was true in that, but this has got quite a large cast of characters that you've got to keep track of. And they are all interlinked. There's a lot of intrigue and um, plot twists in regards to romance and who's going to end up with who, but also in regards to finance. I won't I'm not going to give any spoilers because I know there may be some people who are still reading it, but I thoroughly enjoyed this. I found it, even though there's many hundreds of pages, it was actually really accessible. The style of writing was really accessible. Um, the intrigue between the characters was great. There were lots of twists and turns. It was good fun, really good fun, and I absolutely loved it. So I'll be reading some more Anthony Trollope at some point. The other things I read this week were, well, half this week and half last week actually. The Great Ri- Winglebury, Winglebury Duel. Two stories in here by Charles Dickens. The first one I read last week. The second one was called The Steam Excursion, and it was about a group of, well, Victorian answer to party animals, I suppose, organising a day out and picnic and entertainment on a steamboat on the Thames for their friends. Very good, both of them. I believe both first appeared in the sketches. The second one I read also had two stories in it. Elizabeth Gaskell and the Old Nurse's Story. Now, there was that, and there was another story called Curious If True. Both were really good. I preferred the first one, the Old Nurse's Story, which was a proper gothic ghost story and was just fabulous. The second one was about a guy who gets lost on his way home, and he thinks he's fallen asleep, but then he's suddenly awake and there's a castle in front of him. He looks to get some shelter because it's cold. And there's a whole cast of fairy tale characters there. Um, that was curious. It was good, but I definitely preferred the ghost story. The Old Nurse's Tale was brilliant. Then we move on to October. October, I've had great fun rereading the stories of Edgar Allan Poe. Um, there were a couple of stories each week to read. I've read a few more of them on the way. I also read The Raven. This week was poetry. Now, I absolutely love the stories of Edgar Allan Poe. And I really enjoyed the Raven. But I also enjoy punctuation. And I don't like people to overindulge with their punctuation. And there were a couple of poems in here. The Bells, the Colosseum, where it just seemed that Edgar Allan Poe had stuck his hand into a bag full of exclamation marks and thrown them at the poem. They were everywhere. And I found it difficult to get beyond the excess of punctuation. There were emeralds everywhere as well. So I've probably told you before, I used to be a journalist, and before I took redundancy, I designed the papers. I headed up the team that designed the newspapers. Punctuation and over a surface of punctuation annoys the hell out of me. And that it really does stop me enjoying the poems as much as I think I ought to. So I might just get some Tipp-Ex and Tipp-Ex out all the exclamation marks because there's really no need, and try and read them again. I do like some of his poems. I enjoyed some of them very much. I mean, I really enjoy. There's one called A Valentine, and there's a hidden message in there to Francis Sargent Osgood. And Francis, yeah. So that's quite fun. I enjoyed that. But I don't enjoy the exclamation marks or the emeralds. You can have too much of a good thing. That's all I'm saying. But I have loved October. I still have to read a book that is inspired by Edgar Allan Poe. I'll get round to that at some point. I haven't managed to fit that in this month. Now we are on to Occult Detective October. First run out for this event. And this is one by MJ at Reading This Life. I'll put, incidentally, I always do. I'll put all the contacts down below. So, first up, ebook. Sam Hain. See what they did there? Only it's pronounced Sam Hain rather than Samhain. Occult Detective. Volume 1 by Bron James. I might see if I can find Volume 2. I enjoyed these. They were quite good fun. And Sam Hain is a modern day occult detective. And his character reminded me of Matt Smith's version of Doctor Who. So you may or may not have seen Doctor Who, depending on where you are in the world. But Matt Smith did a very chaotic Doctor Who. And Sam Hain, as a character, reminded me of that. There's short stories in here with a couple of chapters each, and Sam comes across a girl called Alice who's about to be possessed. He saves her. She ends up joining forces with him on a part-time basis to investigate various occult occurrences around London. It was fun. I enjoyed it. Secondly, Ben Aronovitch, Broken Homes. This is the fourth book in the Rivers of London series. I'd previously read two. I read one the week before and decided to read another one. I think I've got another two, but there's more than that in the series. This was fun. It involves architecture. The faceless guy comes back. There's a big plot twist at the end. Peter Grant, our hero, manages to. I mean, he's not responsible for the blowing up of a large tower block, but he's there at the time. He's probably going to get the blame. He's quite good at the explosions. Another great book. I do like these. They're fun. They're fast paced. They don't. I don't think they necessarily stand alone very well. I think you would probably have to start at the beginning, which thankfully is what I did for once. So that's all good. Lastly, Historathon. Historathon 2023. Then at Revenant Reads. I've been very much enjoying this. I am going to see if I can get this. Let me see. Not so good. Maybe there. The Rape of Nanking. This was my very first buddy read, which I undertook with John David. And I thoroughly enjoyed the process of buddy reading. I've never done that before, and it's great to have someone to talk to about the book as you're going through it. It's harrowing. I mean, there's no other way of saying it. It describes an appalling, I suppose genocide has to be the word for it, in Nanking, which is now Nanjing, which used to be the capital city of China. And the Japanese in 1937 overran the city, completely decimated it. Women were raped, children were killed, civilians were shot or beheaded, or there were reports of people having competitions, Japanese soldiers having competitions to see who could be the first to kill 100 people, and it just sounds terrifying. The statistics in the book are absolutely horrifying, and the book is about how this event happened in the first place and how it was hidden from the rest of the world, because unlike the Nazis' extermination of the Jewish population and gypsies and people with mental health issues, this was swept under the carpet to such an extent that school textbooks were censored to make sure that nobody really believed it happened. And for some reason, the Japanese were allowed to get away with downplaying it to such an extent that it no longer occupied world importance. And yet, when it happened, there were many, many local and national and international journalists who wrote stories about it, and indeed is film footage of it and photographs of it that prove what was going on there. It's really quite a devastating book. It's written by Iris Chang. Her research appears to be absolutely meticulous. She took her own life quite a few years after she wrote this. This was written in the mid to late 1990s. But the story's horrific. Interesting. I'm glad I've read it. People should know about things like that. But yeah, the facts are really quite abhorrent to me. But I did enjoy the buddy read. In fact, I enjoyed the book as much as you can enjoy a book that is about something so devastating. I thought it was very well written and, like I say, meticulously researched, and it was something I knew nothing about, and really everybody should know about it. It's funny, isn't it? If you the more you read and the more you learn from books, the more you realise how much you don't know. So I think further reading about Japan and about China, I think I would find very interesting. I think I'm done. I am midway through a book about the US workforce. I haven't finished that yet. That's Historithon as well. The events this month have been incredible, and I've really, really enjoyed them, and I've learnt so much from them and had a lot of fun. So it sort of ticks all the boxes for reading, really, doesn't it? Very much looking forward to Non-Fiction November and A Winter of Wyndham and World War November and something else. But we'll talk about that next week. Anyway, I hope you've all had a lovely weekend. Love to know what you've been reading. Please like and subscribe. That would be great. And I'm going to do another video this week about the Read What You Own challenge. And apart from that, I will see you again next Sunday for a reading wrap up. So have a good week's reading. Keep warm. If you're in England, it's cold now. And I'll speak to you soon. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.